First things first, Kevin Durant with a Game 7 for the ages. How close was he to sending the Bucks home? Devin Booker has the Suns shining. Should they actually be the title favorites? And despite being on the court, Ben Simmons, a no-show for the Sixers last night. Did he cost them this series? Good Monday morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First.
Goodness.
It is good to be back.
Nice.
I will say it. I missed you guys. Next time you're coming on vacation with me. That's not true. That's never going to happen. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wildes. I'm going to steal the show because I've been gone for a week, and we're going to start right now with Saturday night's big game. Saturday night's big game because, guys, when we've been talking Nets all year as the team to beat and then they themselves get beat, that's where we got to start. Epic Game 7 Saturday night in Brooklyn. Kevin Durant, 48 points, and that still was not enough to beat the Bucks.
What am I going to do with these?
KD did have a chance to tie it at the end of OT, but the guy just ran out of gas, and you can't blame him. Just short for Brooklyn, a storybook ending to the Big Three's first season falls short. Here was Kevin Durant after the game on the shock of it all.
I wasn't even planning on losing, you know what I'm saying? So I don't even know how I'm going to feel. I'm always thinking about our team and how we can get better and what we could do individually. And, you know, just wait for I don't know, take a few days off, and I don't know, man. I don't know.
We've all worked extremely hard to be in this moment, you know, and I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about life, you know, and just being able to be in a position on the road, Game 7, like you watch this growing up on TV and see like the all-time greats going head-to-head in Game 7 and, you know, getting big wins. So no matter what, you know, you lose the game. But at the end of the day, we worked extremely hard our whole life for this moment, right? So I wanted everybody to live up this moment, to feel this moment, to cherish this moment, you know, because we are built for this. That's why we are here. You know, no matter the pressure, no matter what's going on, we are built for this.
All right, Brandon, I got to ask you, are you surprised Kevin Durant's 48-point performance wasn't enough to get the Brooklyn Nets past the Bucks in that Game 7?
Oh, Jenna, what am I going to do with these jerseys? I bought all these jerseys. What am I going to do now? This is unbelievable. It wasn't supposed to go down this way. Am I surprised? I'm not surprised. Look, KD, Nash, James Harden, Kyrie, they can't make excuses for themselves. They can't do it. As a player, as a coach, you can't do it. You got to sit up there and you got to say, you know what? Congratulations to the Bucks. They played their tails off. KD did that after the game. He said, we got to make sure we pay respect to them because it was a hard-fought series. But I can make excuses for them, and I don't even know if it's an excuse. It's the reality. We're talking about the Nets team. We're talking about a Nets team that dealt with a rash of injuries from day one. The only reason why they had a chance was because of those three and what they brought to the table offensively together. Now, if they were able to sacrifice, if they were able to make sure that somebody was going to come out and say, you know what, I'm not going to dominate the ball. Go ahead, James. Go ahead, Kyrie. And they did that when they played. Now, it was only a few times. So here's the deal. The Bucks are the only team with the fewest missed games due to injured players. That's the reality. They were super healthy, and the Nets weren't. When you look at all the contenders out there this year, whether it's the Lakers and then other teams out there, everyone dealt with the same thing all year. So they were the ones that was able to stay healthy. It's the war of attrition. And then on the other side, you got KD. KD was a one-man army. James Harden, God bless his soul. But here's the deal. You were out there, buddy, and I love James Harden. I have so much respect for him to coming out in Game 5 and doing what he did. But the reality is, Game 6, Game 7, look, bro, we needed you to hit a couple threes when it mattered, and he didn't do that. But but I still have love and respect for him. And then Joe Harris, I said this Friday, Joe Harris turned himself into Ben Simmons. I don't want to pile on there, but come on, bruh. You won a three-point shooting contest. You were the league leader in percentage from the three-point line. Like, come on. I don't even know what it is now, Nick, but I know coming into this game, he was what? He missed 19 of 23 threes. I don't even know what he ended up with at the end of the series. So, Nick, go ahead and pile on all you want. You can crush me all you want. I know I was high on the Nets. But go ahead. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Brandon,
but make sure you deal with the reality. The reality, yeah. Pile on, buddy. Go ahead.
Listen, here's the reality. Kevin Durant is a singularly brilliant basketball player. And if the Brooklyn Nets were one possession better Saturday night, given all the injuries, given the fact that they have a coach who is figuring it out, and that's being kind, on the fly, given everything, if they were one possession better Saturday night, they would be right now the overwhelming title favorites.
That's right.
Chris Paul's in COVID protocol. Kawhi Leonard's knee is, we don't know. And the Atlanta Hawks are on the other side of the bracket. Kyrie Irving would not be gone for the rest of the season. James Harden, even though he continued his career-long streak of being awful from three in elimination games, he's obviously getting healthier. They needed to be one possession better, and they weren't. And it's not KD's fault. I'm not going to do the thing that we would do to LeBron and be like, well, he had a brilliant game until the very end, and so 0 for 6 in overtime, kill him. No. Kevin Durant did anything and everything a guy could do to win that game Saturday night. He just needed a little bit, either from his co-star James Harden or his coach Steve Nash. He got nothing from either of them. Harden in the final 20 minutes of this game took 6 threes. He was 1 of 6 prior to the final 20 minutes. He was 1 of 6 in the final 20 minutes, and the one he made banked in. He also had a killer turnover. Up 4 in transition, chance to go up 6 with 4.5 minutes left. And he tried to feed KD through a 40-foot pass that needed to be a 50-foot pass. The Bucks come down. The end of the third quarter. And I hammered this Friday. The Nets, end of the second quarter, got outscored 4-0 in the final, or 6-0 in the final few seconds. And in the third quarter, when the Bucks went on an 8-0 run in the final minute until the KD layup to close the quarter, here were the Nets' possessions. Harden turnover, Harden missed 3, Harden missed 3, Harden missed 3. Can't have it. And so KD's 48-point performance should have been enough. And Wilds, I know, listen, obviously, if Kevin Durant's foot's behind the line, and this is a true fact, shout out to the Twitterverse for finding this anecdote. Kevin Durant is a size 17 shoe in real life. He wears size 18 in basketball games. He talked about it. He said he feels better in a bigger shoe. That's why it always slips off. So literally, if he was wearing the right size shoe, the Nets are going to go to the conference finals and be right now the favorites to win the title. Yeah. But in overtime, Wilds, had they gotten up 4, I felt like it would have been over. They had 7 chances, up 2, to get a 2-possession lead, and really, because the Bucks were as exhausted as the Nets. And KD missed a bunch of shots. That happens. Harden missed some bad shots, had a bad turnover. And now all of a sudden, you're 2 years in to the KD Kyrie era, 1 year into Harden, and you've won 1 playoff series. That wasn't the plan.
Okay. Brandon, I have good news for you, and I have bad news for Nick. The good news for you, Brandon, is that you should be upset. It's about, 7:40. That's it. That's as long as you should be upset. Because I have never been more optimistic about the Brooklyn Nets. The fact that the team was built around the big 3, and you had a big 1.5, maybe a big 1 1/8, and still took it to Game 7 to overtime, should make you feel great. Because here's the good news. KD somehow got to another level on a repaired Achilles. He didn't just the big question coming into the season was, hey, is KD going to get back to here? Somehow, a 2-time finals MVP went to here. We also know that championship teams, what do we always say they need to go through? And the Nets said it all year. They got to go through some adversity. Well, they got plenty of adversity. They had adversity in the regular season, and we just saw them go through some adversisty now. You're going to have a healthy team coming back next year, and you also were able to look at some flaws in your roster. You're like, you know what? You know you need to get a little bit bigger. All right, let's get LaMarcus Aldridge. That didn't work out. You know you kind of need a big defensive, like, main specialist, like your version of Nerlens Noel. Once you get that person, here's the prediction, and this is going to make Nick mad because he's like the basketball historian. I think 74-8 is on the board next year. I think you guys could be the best
the dumbest
team
thing I've ever heard.
Ever assembled in the regular
season. That might be the worst take ever given on sports television.
He's trying to bait me.
74-8 next year.
Nick, look what he's doing.
I'm not trying to bait you. I'm 100%
bait
with
me.
this caveat.
I'm not taking that bait. Look.
I told you Nick was going to get mad. No, this is not bait. Only thing, I don't think Kevin Durant should play in the Olympics. Kevin Durant came up. I don't know if he wants more basketball or something, but he committed to playing in the Olympics.
He should.
He needs to chill. I don't want him to play in the Olympics. But next year, record-breaking season for you. Be confident. I will 100% say I'm not trying to bait you. Who baits someone with compliments?
So look, first, I'm not going to take the bait. The Brooklyn Nets will be a great team next year. Now, here's the deal. Kevin Durant should absolutely play in the Olympics. I thought about that when news broke. What was it, last night or 2 days ago?
Yeah.
What was it, last night? They said, KD is going to play in the Olympics.
Yep.
I think that's good for him. Now, he needs to pace himself, but to continue to play basketball and built on what he just elevated to is super important. And also, from a health standpoint, he doesn't need to take time off. He took 2 years off damn near. He needs to just pace himself and keep the rhythm going. Now, here's the deal. It's war of attrition. Health is everything for the Nets. That's what they need to prioritize. They don't need to go out there and look at their roster and figure out, do we need a big here? Do we need this? How do we make our defense better? They don't need to do that. Their superpowers is those big three. They need to make sure those big three can make it through a season, make it through a series. That's what they need to do.
That's good.
They're up against the cap. Nick, they don't have time. They don't have room to go build a big three.
And Blake will probably be gone, and Bruce Brown could be gone. But in Durant's defense, Wilds, he wants to play in the Olympics because he wants to remember what it's like to have an actual basketball coach. It's like, what was that like? I got to go to the Olympics to find out. Steve Nash just sitting there. Hey, Steve, still got that timeout. Good thing you kept that timeout in your pocket. Didn't draw up a play to save your season when Harden's 40 feet from the basket panicked. Don't call timeout there, Steve. Be a terrible idea. Be terrible. I'd be sad had they done it. The Nets might have won.
You want him to break up his rhythm?
That's it for them. Next year, I hope we can actually watch the big three play basketball. And the Hawks-Bucks, by the way, that series gets underway on Wednesday. Let's head out west. We got to talk some Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. Should they be the title favorites after opening up the Western Finals with a win? Check out Book and DeAndre Ayton FaceTiming Chris Paul after the win.
Hey, bro, stay on the line. You see them 11 assists, right? You see you throwing out 11 dimes, right? Dude, I said post game. I said I got to work on
Let's play a little draw and a blank.
Fair point.
Start with Giannis. He packed 2 suitcases, one all with shirts from the designer. Giannis emptied the tank in the Game 7 overtime win over the Nets. 40 points, 13 rebounds to help get the Bucks to the Eastern Conference Finals. Brandon Marshall. Giannis's Game 7 performance was blank.
Traditional, Jenna. And welcome back. I didn't say that in the opening segment. Welcome back. We missed you last week. It was a lot of fireworks last week. But anyways, this was traditional. 40 points, 13 rebounds. I mean, this is a 2-time MVP. The cool thing about Giannis is he did it all over the court. Now, it wasn't at a high clip. Obviously, we know he was right underneath the basket majority of the time. But seeing him in the high post, knocking down a shot or two, seeing him on the elbow knock down a shot or two, and then also hit 2 big threes. Now, the big thing about this is the confidence. You know, you would think a guy getting ridiculed and crushed the last 2 weeks would probably be hesitant to pull from outside of the elbow or the high post. But he wasn't. He just shot his shot. He played his game. And like he said a couple of weeks ago, don't get too high, don't get too low. This is traditional, and we saw the great version of Giannis.
And it was his signature playoff moment. 40, 13, and 5 on 64% shooting. We've been waiting for this from Giannis, not just the game, but late in regulation, the critical and one through Kevin Durant, and then the single biggest moment of Giannis's career, minute 10 left in overtime, down 2, KD guarding him on the block. Giannis takes his time, gets his way into a little baby hook to tie the game before Middleton ends up winning it. It was his signature game. That was his signature moment, Wilds. And Giannis finally has a playoff moment to go along with the much decorated regular season awards.
Yes, my answer is the Men in Black Neuralizer, where you can, hit it and you lose your memory, because that's what happened to Giannis's potential game-winning shot before we got to overtime. 1 second left. We just saw KD hit an amazing shot. Are we going to get another one from Giannis? Not quite. We're going to get a jump shot that misses by maybe 10 feet and hits not the side of the backboard, which people usually say is sort of like the defining standard for a terrible shot. This one hit the side of the shot clock, but no one will ever talk about it. We'll be like, defining moment. This one will just be erased from the history books. Thank goodness.
All right, we're going to take a little turn. Kevin Wilds has some weird and wonderful for us. Well, how about this? Yanks, yesterday, top 9. How about a game-ending triple play from the Pinstripes? That was the Yankees' 3rd triple play this season. How about that? Tying an MLB record. Pretty wonderful stuff. But K-Dubs, what else you got for us?
Yeah. Oh, we've got some weird and wonderful stuff. We're going to go fast on the first 2, Jenna, because the last one is amazing. First up, Justin Upton. We've had a lot of different issues with animals. We've had squirrels on the field. We've had those bugs in Cleveland. Rarely seen a moth, so congratulations to Moth for making its first appearance in a weird and wonderful. Next up, moving on to the wonderful. Hey, Marlins were in Chicago, and people wanted coffee, so they made all the Marlins rookies go out and grab coffee in their full uniforms and cleats, which is actually against Dunkin' Donuts policy. You cannot wear cleats inside a Dunkin' Donuts. This guy gets off pretty easy. He gets to sign an autograph while everyone else is
mask,
carrying
no
the
shirt,
munchkins.
no cleats.
And finally, Jenna, we're going to go to minor league baseball. You know, I'm always following minor league baseball, and people are like, hey, you don't put enough Indianapolis Indians footage on the show. Or I'm like, all right, you got to do something amazing. So here it is. Indianapolis Indians playing Memphis, play at third base. Oh, controversial call. What's going on? I thought I was out. No, man, I was safe. Everyone wants to yell at the umpire. This never works. Timeout is not called. So look at the base runner. It's like everyone's relaxing. My helmet's on the ground. No one's expecting anything. No one is covering home. See you later, fellas. God ends up winning the game. And that's your weird and wonderful from the National Pastime.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. I like the way you called it, Wilds. I was riveted.
Oh, thanks.
We got to get back to basketball, because we got to have the Ben Simmons talk. He wasn't even taking wide open layups. Did he cost the Sixers the series? To be discussed. It is next. This is First Things First on a Monday morning. Welcome back. We're talking some Hawks, some Sixers, some Game 7. Only one team's moving on, and I'll bet it's not the one that you expected. Sixers had their chances in the 4th, but they couldn't get the shots to drop in clutch time. Joel Embiid, 31 and 11, but he turned that ball over 8 times. If only he could turn to the other superstar on the team for a little help. But alas, another dud from Ben Simmons. Here was Embiid on the turning point in that loss to the Hawks.
I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot, and we made one free throw, and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored, and we didn't get a good possession on the other end, and Trae came back and he made a 3, and then from there, down 4, and then it was on me. I turned the ball over and try to, make something happen.
But do you feel like there's something that is different in the postseason with what makes you perceived to be the player that you are, different than in the regular season?
No, I'm not gonna let you say that. We lost. It sucks. I am who I am. It is what it is. It's not easy to win.
Doc, do you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
All right, guys, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Ben Simmons. The guy didn't even attempt a shot in the fourth quarter. Look at this great graphic our guy Dusty put together. Of games 4, 5, 6, and 7, not one attempt. Not ideal for one of Philly's two superstars. All right, Nick, I got to ask you, what is the bigger deal? You had Trae Young's emergence or the Philadelphia 76ers exit?
Listen, with respect to Trae, who, by the way, it should be stated, Trae, who for a large part of his career has been known as the guy a team traded for Luka Doncic, now makes a conference finals as the best guy on a team before Luka makes the second round. Now, that's not a referendum on the two of them, but this is a great moment for Trae, who in his first postseason is just averaging 29 and 10. But this is about Philly. Think about this. If I were to tell you, all right, here's the situation, Philadelphia. You're going to get the Hawks in round 2. You're going to have leads of 18 and 26 in games 4 and 5. And in game 7 in your building, Trae Young is going to go 5 for 23, and Bogdan Bogdanovic is going to be a shell of himself. Meanwhile, Embiid is going to, the entire series, save one game, produce at an MVP level. How do you think that's going to work out? The answer would be, well, I'm not sure how we ended up in a game 7, but obviously we won that game 7. But you didn't. And this is a failure on the behalf of Doc Rivers. This is a failure on behalf of the organization over the process to now, which if you think about it, since they drafted Embiid, they have made 0 conference finals. Meanwhile, Cleveland's made 4. Milwaukee's made 2. Boston's made 3. Damn, Atlanta's now made 2 conference finals since you drafted Embiid. Forget since you last made a conference finals in 01. And of course, the focal point is going to be Ben. Ben, who we saw, there was a game this year, people forget it, against Utah when Embiid was out.
Yep.
And all Simmons did was go 42 points, annihilating Rudy Gobert and the Jazz in a game Philly ended up ultimately losing. He has it in him, and for some reason, something has happened to him in postseasons, none more so than this one, where he became a shell of himself. 0 shot attempts in the fourth quarter, Brandon, of 4 consecutive games can flatly never happen. It doesn't happen to PJ Tucker, who's out there to play defense and shoot corner threes. It can't happen to your max player at 24 years old, who the ball in his hands the whole game. And so do I think Ben needs a fresh start? Yes. Do I think Ben can still be an excellent player in this league? I do. But do I think the Ben and Embiid pairing are going to work? No. We have too much evidence that it can't. That this team at this point can't get out of the second round when the playoffs fell perfectly for them. Perfectly, Brandon.
Yeah, listen, I can't argue against you talking about the Sixers and picking the Sixers when it comes to this question. And you're right when it comes to Ben Simmons. I was one of those who stood up for him when Doc, actually came out and said, look, he's a terrific player. We know who he is. And I've been pounding that for a week and a half. But that layup, man, you got to take that. And it's clear after that play, it's clear, that something's going on and he's in his own head. But here's the deal. I feel like the right answer is Trae Young and the emerging Hawks. I feel like that's the answer because, go back to the beginning of March, all right? You got Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce was fired, but he was there for 3 years, won 63 games, lost 120, all right? He was then fired. Nate McMillan, who played 12 years in the NBA at point guard, then took over. Since then, they're 35 and 15. I feel like we missed something throughout this season. I feel like we missed something even in the playoffs. In the playoffs, they're 8 and 4. So we're looking at, the Hawks are red hot, and the Hawks are just playing out of their mind. I feel the Hawks are a really good team. So that is the answer. You got this young man who's just taking off and really becoming, one of the faces of the NBA. So when you look at this team and how they're built, to me, Wiles, the right answer is the Hawks. But it's easy to overlook it because we forget what happened in March and what began to happen in March when Nate McMillan took over.
Yeah, I think, look, Brandon, to your point, I think Tom Thibodeau did a wonderful job with the Knicks. But if he wanted to pack up his Coach of the Year trophy and FedEx it to Nate McMillan, I think it would be a magnanimous gesture on his part. So it would be well done. I do think it's about Ben, though. And I feel like, for at least myself, and I think a lot of people, it has trended from anger and like, hey, you've got to be better, you've got to take shots, you've got to be more confident in yourself, to kind of like a sadness, like a sadness at seeing somebody not reach their potential on the biggest stage. And you saw a similar sort of emotional arc, Nick, with Markelle Fultz, where it's like, hold on, this guy was our top pick, and then you saw him really struggling. And then when he started to take jump shots, people started to cheer for him. You started to really root for the guy, and because you wanted him to achieve his potential. Now, I do think that he probably needs to leave Philly, just like Fultz sort of got better once he was in Orlando, whether it's a shooting coach or just a change of scenery or a fresh start. And Brandon, I know we talked about the Olympics earlier with KD. Ben has talked about wanting to play for the Boomers, the Australian squad. I think that could be really good for him. Where you look at him like, all right, Ben, we need you to sort of reinvent your game here and sort of carry us so he can get away from the league and still play. Because I don't think that like just going in the gym and shooting free throws like at House of Athlete on the 9-6 hoop would actually help. Not only because the hoop is too low, but also because you don't have the environment. But you know what I mean? I do think he needs international or like real competition to establish himself. And then I think they should trade him for C.J. McCollum. The Ringer wrote an article like, hey, C.J.'s the guy. Put Dame and Ben Simmons together. Dame can be the primary ball handler, or Simmons can be the primary ball handler, and Dame is the guy that they could work a little better. But I think you got to move him out of Philly, and I think he should play in the Olympics and reinvent his game.
Right. Go ahead, Jenna.
No, I'm just going to throw it to you because you're probably going to say around the same thing. This was the first conversation we had when we started this entire show, when we started First Things First. Can Ben and Joel exist together? And we keep giving them every single opportunity to do so. And for whatever reason, it's just not working in Philadelphia. And it's gotten to the point, like Wild said, it's now in his head. It's on a glaring, big, fat stage. We've all seen it. He needs a change of scenery because it's mental for him now, and it doesn't look like it's really ever going to work there in Philadelphia, Brandon.
Yeah, no, it's time for him to get a fresh start somewhere else. He just needs that. Look, here's the deal, Wilds. Trust and believe that Ben Simmons is working on his game, talking about his shot. We saw him at the beginning of this year take some shots early on, and then he start fading away. But he is working on his shot. This is modern NBA basketball. We got centers that are taking threes. Centers, MVPs, the jokers of the world. They have to shoot the ball from the perimeter. So for you to be a point guard and not do that, that's a big problem. Here's what needs to happen with Ben Simmons. He has to be strong enough to fail in front of everyone. Forget when the lights are out and there's no cameras involved and it's just you and your trainer in the gym practicing your shot. You need to be able to do that if you go to the Olympics and you take on, everyone in the world. You got to be able to say, you know what, I'm here to work on my game. Yes, I want to win. It'd be hard to do that. But yeah, I want to go try to compete. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to jack up as many shots as I can because the NBA is my bread and butter. And so for Ben Simmons, he needs to lean into that. If this is really going to work out, the two things that you said, change of scenery. Go ahead, buddy.
No, the change of scenery and working on, I think, to finish your thought, and working, being, like you said, not afraid to fail. I get all of that, but I want to address both points you and Wilds both made. One is the Sixers were this close to getting James Harden for Ben Simmons. The only reason that didn't happen is because the owner at Houston came in and vetoed it because he didn't want to trade with Daryl because Daryl had left Houston. To go from getting Harden for Ben Simmons to C.J. McCollum for Ben Simmons, with respect to C.J., it's selling at a low point, which is, I do think Ben can be an excellent player. If you look at the 15 best players in the league, Embiid and Giannis are probably the two worst to pair with Ben. You pair Ben with Dame. You pair Ben if he were to somehow be in Golden State. Then all of his excellence would be on display and his flaws would be minimized. But given all his flaws, given the fact that he shot no shots, in the fourth quarter of 4 straight games, Billy still should have and could have won this series. They had the massive lead in Game 4, an even bigger lead in Game 5. They were at home in Game 7 with Trae Young having the worst game he's had of the playoffs. And you only have so many bites at the championship apple, Jenna. And this year for Philly, they were the 1 seed. Danny Green's injury notwithstanding, they were the healthiest team arguably remaining. And they could have won a title without having to ever beat LeBron, AD, Kawhi, Luka, Steph, Dame, KD, Harden. The path couldn't have been more clear. And they lost a Game 7 at home. Doc's got to wear it. Ben's got to wear it. Joel, as good as he was throughout the series, 8 turnovers Game 6, they won. 8 turnovers Game 7, they lost. They all got to wear it. Because you guys point on the Nets earlier. The Nets will be better next year. And Philly, what will they be? This is a massive, massive missed opportunity.
Yep, a lot to think about. Big decisions to be made in the offseason. All right, Nick, going back to you. You got to hand out some NBA playoff medals for us. KD coming up 1 big toe away from winning Game 7 for the Nets at the end of regulation. But that Nets team lost in overtime, so no medal for KD. Who did it better this weekend, buddy?
I wonder what's tougher to swallow for KD, the fact that the big toe cost him the game or it cost him a gold medal. Instead, he gets no medal. Bronze medal, Terrence Mann. Oh, my God, Terrence Mann. 39 points. Well, let's look at silver and gold, see who you think he should replace. Bronze medal, 39 points on almost 75% shooting in a 25-point second-half comeback to eliminate the fraudulent Jazz. Silver medal. Hey, what's a good time for your first career triple-double, regular season or playoffs? How about your first career Western Conference Finals game? No Chris Paul, no problem. 40, 13, and 11 for Devin Booker, who was brilliant. This was better than his 71-point game, the finest game of his young career. And the gold medal. Giannis! The only thing better than Giannis's performance was his post-game press conference where he sounded like a Greek philosopher, pun intended. 40, 13, and 5. The critical baby hook over KD with 1:10 left to tie up the overtime. Giannis gets over the hump, at least I believe gets over the hump, with a signature playoff moment. Jenna, there are your medals.
Dagger
from
through
this
the heart.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. It looks good. Wilds, who just missed the cut?
Oh, Trae Young gets leaped over, bowled over by Dwight Howard here. And Jenna, you know what you're always talking about? The value of body weight exercises. You don't need dumbbells. You don't need barbells.
Tricep
there you go, some calisthenics. So Trae Young, fantastic job, just missing the cut.
That could have gotten the gold right there. Yeah, it's calisthenics. I don't say it anymore. Can we talk about Brandon's Nets for a second? Brandon, I'm sorry, buddy. KD coming oh so close to send the Bucks home.
Don't do it.
Now a long off season to think about it. I got to do it. That's what Keta keeps telling me. Here was KD on that clutch shot.
And is that really ultimately, even in defeat, the most memorable shot of your career?
Not at all. Not even close to the most memorable shot. I thought it was a Tracy, but my big ass foot was a step on the line. I was just seeing the little screenshot how close I was to ending their season off that shot, but it wasn't in God's plan. Hey, we move on. So it was a solid shot, but I hit way bigger shots than that.
Back here, first things first, we got Chris Broussard back with us, and we are talking Clippers because the Clippers had a busy basketballing weekend. Friday night, they closed out the Jazz in Game 6. Paul George went for 28, and Terrence Mann in for Kawhi with a career-high 39 points. So that set up a showdown with the Suns in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Yesterday, still no Kawhi and no Chris Paul, and Devin Booker decided to put on a show. His first ever triple-double, an absolute masterpiece for him in Game 1 as the Suns now take the 1-0 series lead. Chris Broussard, what'd you make of the Clippers' weekend?
Jenna, fantastic weekend for my Clippers. Absolutely historic. Obviously, they reached the conference finals for the first time in team history. They became the first team in NBA history to win multiple series after trailing 0-2 in the same postseason. And playoff P, I got to give Paul George credit. He really was playoff P. He went out and did something that Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Doc Rivers, heck, Kawhi Leonard, Darius Miles, and Quentin Richardson, the knuckleheads, none of them could do it. And that's leading them to the conference finals. So great job by the Clippers. Obviously beating Utah 2 times straight without your best player is incredibly impressive. Yesterday, they played well. I mean, they played a good game. It was a close game. They had a shot to win. Devin Booker was just a little too much. I'm going to surprise you guys, though. I called them my Clippers at the start of this segment. I'm picking Phoenix in 7. They got the home court. They've got the health. And CP3 will be back at some point. So I think, look, I give the Clippers a legitimate chance. I would not be surprised if they win this series, but I got Phoenix in 7.
Wow.
Well, the first piece of bad news the Suns have gotten in a month, Broussard's now picked you, so the old kiss of death has been placed upon you. Sorry to tell you, Phoenix.
I was going to say that.
It's usually the Clippers. It's usually the Clippers.
Paul George deserves a ton of credit. Obviously, Terrence Mann had one of the greatest games a role player's ever had in the playoffs. We've never seen a team, since they've been tracking this, no team in an elimination game has come back from 20 down. They came back from 25 down in the second half. So it was brilliant what happened Friday night. I thought they acquitted themselves quite well yesterday. Phoenix hadn't lost in a month. And it was kind of a fair fight. No Kawhi, but also no Chris Paul. So I said before the playoffs, I thought the winner of Lakers-Suns was going to win the West. I thought the Suns were the second best team in the West. They obviously dispatched of the Lakers, haven't lost since. But Wilds, I want to talk about a man who had to sing for his supper to try to get a head coaching job for a couple of years. A guy who it's so crazy when the Cavs won the title and went to all these finals. It's like LeBron gets credit and David Griffin gets credit. Ty Lue's just there for the ride, I guess. And a man who right now today, if you do not consider him one of the 5 best coaches in basketball, you're an idiot. Show me Ty Lue's resume, because it is not of a good NBA coach. It is the resume of an all-time great NBA coach. 12-1 series-clinching games, best in the history of the league. Won a title in Cleveland. That's a half-century drought. Got to conference finals with the Clippers. That's a half-century drought. What about just overall regular season record? 10th best ever. What about playoff record? You know what that list goes? Kerr, Jackson, Ty. So yeah, he's had great players. Yeah, everybody does. Kerr had Steph, Clay, and then KD. Phil had Michael, Scotty, then Shaq, Kobe. Ty is next on that list. The way he, within a series, diagnoses what the team is doing, the opposing team, and then figures out a way to beat them at exactly what they're trying to do, it's utterly brilliant. And I know the former players, well, let me say this differently. The black former players who are coaches, they all get labeled great motivators. and then the other guys get labeled the great X's and O's and tacticians. I don't know if Ty's a great motivator. He had the one moment in Game 7, halftime, where he yelled at LeBron. That's kind of famous. But aside from that, we don't hear a ton about Ty Lue post-game or pre-game speeches. Here's what we do hear about Wildes and what we see. Within a series, he will take any piece on the chessboard, take it off, put a new one on, and he will render what you are trying to do somewhat useless. So again, I think that without Kawhi, the Suns might be just too good, but Ty Lue deserves so much credit for what he has done this postseason and then dating back to when he was in Cleveland, and I hope he's finally getting it.
Yeah, and I think Ty's brilliance in his flexibility for his strategy against the Jazz was on display or showcased an extra amount when you looked at what Quinn Snyder was doing. In Broussard, there was a lot of news in the weekend. We had Durant going crazy. We got Giannis making the conference finals. We got the ascendance of Trae Young. We got Devin Booker playing great. We got the Clippers winning. And then Quinn Snyder is sitting there and like, whoo, looks like the news cycle avoided old Quinn Snyder. Thank goodness. Woohoo! Because Quinn Snyder, you were the #1 seed, and you got embarrassed on that game. Everybody knew what was happening except you. Ty Lue's adjustments were the iceberg, and you were the captain of the Titanic. You're like, full speed ahead, Rudy Gobert. Let's go. Hey, Quinn Snyder, Terrence Mann is not supposed to be doing that. Oh, I know it was a great game and it was inspiring. You were letting it happen. And I think if I was the owner of the Jazz, and I was a tech billionaire, and which I still might be someday, I look at that, and the players competed against each other, and the fan bases competed against each other. But this is also a competition between a bunch of billionaires. And if I was the owner of the Jazz, I said, the other billionaire over there had a coach, and their team flamed out, and he decided to make a move. And that move, which brought Ty Lue in, is the reason why they won this series. I am shocked that Quinn Snyder is just rolling on this scot-free. It is a product of either low expectations for the Jazz, and it's coming to fruition. They're like, oh, it's the Jazz. They're a nice team, but, they're not a real team. Donovan Mitchell played crazy as a superstar, and they were the #1 seed, and they got eliminated by losing 4 straight games, 2 of which were without Kawhi Leonard. And it's not, and we're not talking about it. Quinn Snyder just skated on this, and I'm shocked by it.
No, you're right, because Doc's not skating. Doc Rivers is getting crushed. And
exactly.
Quinn's a good coach. But some of it is low expectations, and it's Utah. Jerry Sloan was there how long? I don't know, was it 22 seasons, more than that? That's the expectation in the small market of Utah, that Quinn is going to be there. And you're right, they've never won a championship, but always been a very good franchise. So he'll be safe, but he got out-coached. And Ty Lue not only shamed Quinn Snyder, he is shaming a lot of these coaches throughout the league. I was telling Nick this during the break. Ty Lue is saying, look, we got 12 players in uniform for a reason. And in this series or this game, this 11th guy who hasn't played in 2 games or didn't play all series, he might be perfect for right now. He might be perfect for this new strategy I want to use. Or this guy, he played great last series, but I can't use him this series. He is doing that. Most coaches stick to your 8-man playoff rotation no matter what, maybe 9. Ty Lue is using the entire roster. And it makes sense. It's like common sense when you think about it. It's like, you know what? They are NBA players. All of them are really great at basketball. Let me just find the right situation for them to play and excel. Ty Lue is doing it. I'm with Nick. Hats off to Ty. I'm throwing him flowers all playoffs.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last 15 minutes until I heard you say Suns in 7, Chris Broussard. You are finally letting your Clippers go. We will put that aside, but everyone write that down so we remember it. We got to talk Giannis. It was last night's Game 7 performance, the signature moment of his career. We'll discuss next. First things first. Back here, first things first, time for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. How about a little Nets Bucks from Saturday night? It was a big one.
How about we skip it?
Chance to move on to the
Jenna?
Eastern Conference Finals. Can't skip it. Those are the rules of television. Nets coming up just short, despite 48 points from Kevin Durant. Bucks still beat him in overtime. I watched as much basketball as I could. I did not have to get up early. KD did have a chance to tie it at the end of overtime. The guy just ran out of gas. You can't blame him, though. He gave you everything he had, just short. Storybook ending to the Big Three's first season. So, Nick, what do you make of the Nets season? If you can take a step back, how everything played out, what do you make of it?
It's a massive disappointment. It's a massive disappointment. They lost in round 2. And I understand that a lot of people believe they would have won the title if they were healthy. Well, guess what? I believe the Lakers would have won the title if they were healthy. The Lakers season ended up being a massive disappointment. Luckily, in their first year of LeBron and AD together, they won the title. The Nets, in their first year of KD and Kyrie together, didn't win a playoff series because KD didn't play all year and Kyrie got hurt at the end of the year. And in their second year together, they lost in round 2. Now, can you put it on KD? Absolutely not. Folks that want me to go after KD because he was 0 for 6 in overtime, watch the game. KD was brilliant throughout that game. He was asked to play every single second of the game, like Harden was essentially. Nash had the great idea of, hey, James, I'm going to sub you out for 0.9 seconds at the end of the first quarter. That'll help you a lot. It didn't help him a lot. And so KD was spent at the end. It happens. Brook Lopez made some great plays. Giannis made the best play of his career, the little baby hook over KD. But here's why, Brandon, you really should be in pain this morning. Real pain.
Woof.
Y'all could have still won the title. If James Harden
100%.
is better at the end of the third quarter, when he went missed 3, turnover, missed 3, missed 3. If James Harden in the fourth quarter, when y'all are up 4, when he pitches it ahead to Durant, makes a better pass, and you guys go up 6 with 4 minutes left. If James Harden stops taking threes or makes one that's not banked in the second half, you guys win the game. And if you win the game, you're huge favorites over the Hawks. And at the end of the game, Brandon, when the entire world knew Durant was spent, when they get the ball off the rebound after Middleton goes for the win, I understand why Nash wants to let them push it. But when the transition's over, when Durant kicks it to Harden and Harden is standing there 4 feet in front of Steve Nash, call timeout. Let KD get a breather, sit down, and see if he can get the legs underneath him for a 3. So I'm not faulting Durant at all. I thought Nash did a poor job. I thought Harden, even though it was a valiant effort, killed you in the second half of this game. And now a golden opportunity to win the title is gone.
Look, obviously I'm clearly disappointed, and it sucks. I've been talking about the Nets all year, right? And we can break down this entire season. We can break down this series. We can break down the playoffs into pieces. But the reality is it came down to health. And that was the story of not only this team, but the entire NBA. Who's healthier? The Bucks were the only team that had, all their stars there throughout the entire regular season and the regular season. Now, they missed a few games here and there, load management here and there. But at the end of the day, they were healthy. If these guys are playing together and these guys are all healthy, then they win. So this year validates their entire approach, them betting on themselves, them believing that, Wilds, we can get it done. I know everybody keeps saying that, we all are ball dominant and we don't want to, sacrifice. But they showed when they did play together that they can get it done. So at the end of the day, who's to blame this game if you want to break down this series? Joe Harris, where are you? Like, come on, how do you go from leading the league in percentage from the three-point line and winning the three-point contest to not being able to hit a 3 in a series? Buddy. That is a problem. And then also you got James Harden on one leg, and James Harden, we need you to hit a big shot towards down the stretch, and he wasn't able to do that.
That's Joe Harris right there. Airball.
Everyone else's championship flight got delayed. Your championship flight or got canceled. Your championship flight got delayed. You guys are still on the path. You're going to come back better. If KD's foot was a little bit behind the line, or if Giannis's foot was a little bit this way and Kyrie related fine, you guys are totally fine. Are going to be better next year. Your championship is just delayed. The Sixers championship's canceled, so you're fine, buddy. Feel happy. Feel optimistic. Don't throw away.
What are you going to do with all those jerseys,
We'll be fine next year. DM me if you want to buy these jerseys.
Let's
DM me.
all of this. Undisputed Trust right now. We'll see you tomorrow.